So it's about that time of the year. Black Friday is coming and a lot of people are going to buy a lot of stuff that basically don't need. Now, it doesn't matter when you watch this video because most of the time during the year, we're always buying stuff we don't need. Now, I'm a little nerd when it comes to not buying things and saving money, so I'm always looking up videos on YouTube and how I can get better at not buying things anymore. Now, I have gotten a lot better, but there's a guy that's a lot better than I am, and he did something I never really thought about doing. But this guy said for 12 months, I'm not going to buy anything. Now, that sounds crazy and extreme, but he actually did it, and he had 3 little rules, and the last rule he figured out along the way. The first rule was don't die. So obviously you need to buy food. Second rule was don't stink. So you need to buy soap, toothpaste, shampoo, and all that stuff right there. But the third rule was basically if you're going to buy something, make sure it's going to replace something that is used up or needs to be replaced because it just doesn't work. Now, when was it the last time that you actually bought something and thought, hey, I need this because basically the thing I have is basically used up? Most of the times when we buy sneakers or clothes or whatever it is, we buy it because there's a different style, because there is, for example, a coupon or a sale. There's always something going on. And I know this is a little extreme, but this kind of motivated me to go a little step further and say, Tommy, what are all the things that you're buying that you basically don't need? And by the way, in the end of this experiment, he basically figured out that when you don't spend money, you actually gain a lot. So there's the economy, the environment, and also people around you, because the money he wasn't spending on things, on stuff, he was basically spending it on services and experiences. So instead of buying, for example, some new boots, he went for a hike. Instead of buying some CDs and paying for a subscription, he went to a concert. And you might say, well, you're not really saving money. Kinda, I get it. But you're also living a much happier life, building up experiences and just collecting stupid stuff. So in this video right here, I'm going to give you 10 things I basically stopped buying, and this might actually help you cut those things out. But I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else. I'm not a minimalist. I'm not an activist. I'm not super worried about things, but overall, I just want to be a lot better and a lot more conscious about how I spend my money. And hopefully this video helps you out a ton. And as always, guys, like this video on top. Also subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified. And by the way, obviously, the money you save, you can invest, and that money makes you more money, and that to me is pretty awesome, okay? But imagine that. You only buy things that you need to live. You don't buy stuff anymore. And one technique this guy used, Niko, and by the way, he has a TED Talk, look it up, it's awesome. He says, one technique I use all the time, Tommy, was basically whenever I saw a sale, I always thought about it. For example, this is not an opportunity to buy something. It is an attack on me to get me to actually buy something I don't need. And that's gonna change my mindset, especially right now during Black Friday, when all you're seeing is sales on Amazon and Walmart and Best Buy to buy things you really much don't really need, okay? So here's my list of the 10 things I basically don't buy anymore, and it actually saves me a ton of money, and it actually helps me live a better life and spend this extra money on services and actually experiences. Now, the very first thing I stopped buying is basically, I stopped buying new iPhones. You know, I used to be a big fan. Whenever the iPhone 7 came out, I got it. The iPhone 8, I'm not sure I got it, but I got the X when it came out. I was always trying to get the latest and the greatest. And one thing is that this right here is actually the iPhone X, okay? And right now we're at the iPhone 14. Last time I bought an iPhone was about 4 to 5 years ago when I actually bought this one. And this one actually ran into problems, the battery, and I just basically replaced it for like $40, and now it's back to operational. One thing Niko also said in his TED Talk was basically, whenever I think about buying, for example, a new iPhone or new technology, I ask myself, can this phone really do anything that my phone cannot do? And don't say, for example, Tommy, the pictures are better, it's a little faster. In reality, it's still doing the same exact thing, which is basically a device that helps you communicate with people. You can put apps on it and just do basically everything else. And spending, for example, $1,000, or you might say $500 every single year, because usually you can trade them in, get the latest one, but you're constantly losing money on stuff like this. And in reality, this stuff is a massive liability because it's also a portal to spending a bunch of money on other other crazy stuff like subscriptions and so on, okay? So I stopped buying iPhones for the past 4 years, and we could say that saved me over $4,000. And if I had invested that money into Apple, that could have made me some extra money, which I kind of did because my investments do contain Apple in some way. Now, the second thing I stopped buying has been, for example, like clothing, okay? Now, I will say this because I like to be honest. I recently just had like a whole wardrobe change because my body changed. I lost like 50 pounds, so most of the clothes I had just didn't fit anymore, and I needed to go ahead and replace those clothing. Now, here's my little rule here. My clothes, kind of surprising here, my shorts, my pants, my jeans, they're usually used. And about 90% of my clothes I would say are used, but when it comes to my t-shirts, I tend to buy them new now because I just go to Marshall's and get them for like $5, $12 and so on. But when it comes to my jeans, which I like very nice ones that cost like $120, because when you buy good stuff, quality stuff, it tends to last a very long time. And it's also a good lesson Niko taught, but basically, I can basically get them second-handed on eBay, on Goodwill, and just basically save a bunch of money. The jeans I usually get, they go for $120. The shorts I get, they go for like $90. I get them for like $20 or $15. I have a few of them, and I basically wear them until they basically burn to the ground. But I no longer worry about, well, I have this other t-shirt, it's in a different style. I have this other jeans, it's in a different, I really don't care about those things like I used to. And this saves me a ton of money. So buying used clothes, you wash it, okay? And then you're good to go. But don't wear it before you wash it, because that's just a little weird, okay? Now, number 3, guys, is cars. Now, you might say, Tommy, I watched your channel before. You only bought your first car about a year ago. That is true. But even when I bought that car, I had the idea, well, I'm gonna drive this car for a while, then I'm gonna get another car. But even right now, after watching this video with Niko, I thought about it like, if the rule is you only buy something when the other thing is actually gonna be replaced, a used item, or is basically run down, it's broken, then I'm not really gonna replace my car until it needs to be replaced. Now, the problem is, because it is a Toyota, it is a Prius, like these cars can last a very long time. And my car only has like, I think about 100,000 miles or maybe a little less. That means I have like another 100,000 more to put on this car. So it's gonna be with me for a very long time. And yeah, it does cost money to replace certain parts here and there, but again, what's the use of me buying a Mercedes or buying a nicer car when this car takes me from point A to point B the same as anything else, okay? That's the overall idea. And by the way, what inspired Niko was, this guy was in Bali, which is supposed to be paradise on heaven, or paradise on earth, or heaven on earth. Is it? What? I don't know, okay? But he was in Bali. Supposed to be a beautiful space, okay? Or a beautiful place. And he sees just a bunch of garbage on the beach. And he's like, where's all this stuff coming from? He does research and finds out basically we just basically buy a lot of stuff and then it just basically goes to waste. So what's the point of buying all this stuff? And that's what's basically inspired him. Again, I'm not an activist on this stuff, but it does help out with the environment. And on top of that, it saves you a bunch of money and you can put that money to work, which basically makes you more money. And I like that a lot. And by the way, one good reason why I don't plan on replacing cars is basically the longer you ride them out, the more money you save. You buy another car, depreciation hits it, and it just doesn't make any sense, okay? Now, number 4, guys, is I stopped buying things I didn't understand when it came to investments. Now, this is a little weird because most people might say, Tommy, I don't even know about investing, right? But overall, when the time does come, when you're interested, for example, in a 401k, in a Roth IRA, in a brokerage account, and just ways to make your money make you more money, just remember, don't buy things you don't understand. So, because it's a big waste of money. So that's one rule I follow. If I don't understand what I'm investing my money into, I just don't invest my money into it. Now, if you need money advice and investment advice, I have a lot of videos on this channel. So look up, for example, Invest in How to Invest by TommyBryson on YouTube, and you will find videos on that. But that can cost you a ton of money, and it can also save you a ton of money when it comes to investing into the right things. Now, number 5, guys, is I used to be obsessed with the next TV, okay? I was one of those people, when I thought about Black Friday, I thought about flat screens, okay? And I am obsessed with 4K TVs. Now we have 8K TVs. What is gonna be the next TV? I don't know. But I remember everything changed when I bought the TV that I actually wanted. And it was like a Vizio 4K TV, and it was so cool. And it was just like this massive TV, but I lived in a very small room. And I was like, why do I have this TV here? It cost me about $400 or $300. I bought it used from this guy that bought it, then he needed to move away. And I was like, this guy bought this thing for like $700. He sold it to me for $300. Now the TV's like worth less. And in reality, I get the same picture. Like there's always going to be some improvement to something, but it doesn't mean I have to participate in every improvement and shell out money out of my pocket, if that makes sense, okay? And that helped me out a ton because I no longer worry about there's something new, something that's more improved. And it's like, I don't care because what I have already works, okay? And it's like my grandma's mindset, but it took me a lot longer to actually capture it and to actually listen to it. So the next TV, I don't care. The one I have is fine. And I rarely ever watch TV these days. I kind of just have it there as an ornament. So when I have guests over, they're like, oh, there's a TV there. Yeah, you can watch something if you want. But I personally don't watch TV at all, really, honestly. Now, number 6 is actually premium brands and labels. Now, you might say, Tommy, what do you mean here? I mean, like when I go to the supermarket, I'm not worried about Kellogg's or the generic cereal. When I go to buy something, I'm not worried about, oh, you have the Samsungs and the Sonys and the Apple stuff, and then you have, for example, this generic brand here. Like, I really don't care. Now, I do believe in quality, and quality is very important because quality things tend to last a long time. And I also believe quality companies tend to produce quality items. But the thing is that a lot of companies, what they have is not quality. What they have is kind of like badges of just wealth in a sense. When you think about a car, I think car quality would be Toyota, Honda, and Mazda because quality based, they have great ratings and they're basically very reliable cars. But people might say quality might be, for example, Mercedes and Porsche and all these other cars, Lamborghini. But in reality, they're not really quality cars because they break down all the time. They're very expensive to actually fix. So I stopped worrying about what's the brand. I worry more about what is the reliability, what is the utility, what is the taste like, what's the flavor like. So that involves not just, for example, on the small things when I go to the grocery store, like Starbucks coffee or generic coffee. Just get the generic one, okay? While I did have a little picture, well, I had like this entire thing where I did buy Starbucks coffee for a while, and I was like, I'm spending $10 on this stuff. This one here is like $4, and it gets me like twice as much coffee, and it's the same caffeine hit. So why am I doing all this stuff, okay? And it kind of just started to click. And I also watch Everybody Hates Chris, and I was like, this makes a lot of sense because why buy these brand name labels if the generic ones are basically the same? And once I learned about white labeling, I think it is, which basically means these companies get the same items, same products from the same exact places, but they just stick their label on it, and they're like, oh, mine's more expensive because mine says Starbucks, but it's the exact same coffee, but this one says, for example, Kirkland on it, okay? So that makes a big difference, and I stopped worrying about brands like I used to. Now, number 7 is actually subscriptions on things especially that I don't need. If you go on my phone right now and you go on subscriptions, I do have a few of them, I will not lie, but I don't have as many as I used to have at a certain point, you know? So whenever I get an app, I don't get a subscription. If I do get a subscription, it's on something that in some way is going to improve my life or also gonna save me time. My subscriptions are, for example, I don't have a Netflix account. I basically just suck up other people's Netflix accounts because I don't really use it. I have a gym bill that is a subscription. But then as far as that, my subscriptions are currently right now, I have a trainer app subscription that's like $10 a month, and you might say, Tommy, that's wasteful. Why not just get your own program? Because I like it and it saves me a lot of money, saves me a lot of time. I also have Apple Care, which I'm kind of like thinking like I don't really need that. I have a Focus Keeper subscription, space subscription for my photos, and basically sports and also a phone number. So I have about like 7 subscriptions, I would say. But when you think about it, they're between like $2 and $10 here. But I'm not, again, it saves me time, it saves me money, and I don't like listen to commercials. But I'm not the person that has, for example, cable. I don't have all the subscriptions because they really don't make any sense. That's stuff I basically stopped buying. But I do pay for things that save me money. One thing I might, no, I still need it, so I still have it here, okay? Now, number 8, this one actually saves me a lot of money is, well, I already spent the money. It's kind of crazy, right? You figure things out usually after you already got suckered into it. So I stopped buying kitchen appliances. I swear, when you get your first house, you're gonna wanna buy an air fryer, an oven, you're gonna wanna buy a toaster, a food processor, a liquid juice sucker, a blender, a bullet. Like, there's all these items that you're gonna fill your kitchen up with, and also a crock pot, a rice cooker, cooker, a pressure cooker. There's just all these things, and you might think, oh, it's not a big deal. It's just like $50 here, $70, $80, and then when you add them all up, you have over $500, $700 worth of stuff that you basically like rarely use. I bought like this Belgian waffle maker. Ask me how many times I made waffles on this thing, like twice. Like $30, $20 basically gone forever. Like it makes no sense. So when it comes to just kitchen appliances, I basically figured out you can basically make anything on a frying pan and also with a blender. Like any juice, blender. Anything I want to do, frying pan. Okay, so trust me when I say this, don't spend money on a bunch of kitchen appliances. The only appliance I use the most, I have to say this, has to be, for example, my blender, my crock pot, and that is pretty much it. And also maybe my coffee maker, because I do use that whenever like I need coffee and so on, and it's a lot more simple to actually have. But you don't need to get the brand one, because that's also very important. You don't need to get like the $150 cappuccino maker. Like my coffee machine costs like 20 bucks, okay? Works great. Gives me 5 cups, and that's basically all I need. That's awesome. Now, number 9, guys, is going to be computers and computer parts and video games and the next console or whatever it is, okay? I used to be obsessed with what is the next gen like computer chip or whatever it is, and I want the new Mac and I want the new Windows computer. Like those things I just stopped buying. Like I stopped worrying, again, about improvements in things over, for example, like, hey, do I actually need it? And if the answer is no, it's not really needed, then I just don't get it. And you can't always say, for example, well, this might save me 2 minutes, so I'm gonna spend an extra $2,000 on this computer. Like, just don't do it. Stick to what you have. And I actually enjoy sometimes having stuff that works a little slower because it keeps me focused on what I need to do. Like, I remember I read about this author, and she had like this computer that could not play games, and it would just crash because she said, like, I want to make sure when I use my computer it's just for writing because it keeps me focused. But if I try to play a game on it, it basically just crashes. Now, the last thing I stopped buying here, number 10, is going to be items that require me to keep reusing them. For example, like, I never did this because I learned early on, but people have coffee machine makers where they constantly have to replace the filter every single day. I just have like one of those fixed ones where you just basically like wash it off and put it back in. That saves me money. As far as, for example, paper towels, you know, like the ones in the kitchen, right? Instead of buying those all the time, just get a few rags, like good quality rags, and then just basically wash it and basically good to go. As far as, for example, I'm a guy, right? So I grow a beard every now and then. Not that great, but I grow a beard. Instead of buying, for example, like constantly like shaving machines or whatever, I just buy myself an actual machine and I basically just shave. Now, I do have razors like for the smooth shave, but my razor blades, I might buy like, last time I bought it was basically like almost 3 years ago, like no joke. Until this day, these razors has lasted me like since then. So I would put that in the category of don't stink, because it is things that keep your appearance, and that's very important, at least to me, right? You want to be presentable. Now, there was one more thing too that I wanted to talk about. It's basically like a water filter. Like I bought a water filter. That way I'm not constantly having to buy like those little water bottles or whatever. And I also have, for example, where's my thing here? I have this, right? So my water filter, fill it up, fill this up, drink 2 of these a day, and I don't have to constantly buy water bottles, because that's also not great for the environment. I sound like an activist, okay? But I recycle, yeah, because I don't want to get a ticket, but it's like you just do your part, right? And this also saves you a ton of money and a ton of time. So guys, that is it for this video though. I hope it actually helps you. And overall, remember, right? The basic idea is this: if it doesn't help you, if you do this challenge, comment down below, will you do this challenge? That's also very interesting, right? Are you willing to go 12 months without buying stuff? And the rules are, if you don't need it to live, you don't buy it. On top of that, if it doesn't help you not stink, you don't buy it. And if it's not replacing something that's used and used up or broken, you just don't buy it. Would you be willing to do that, okay? And whenever you see, for example, like a sale, use it as, hey, they're trying to get money from me, they're trying to play me, so you actually don't buy it. Comment down below, let me know, would you accept that challenge? Let me know in the comments down below. Comment down below, accept, no, because then you're gonna be like, I don't want to accept, okay? So comment down below, challenge, so I know you made it all the way to the end of the video. As always, guys, like, subscribe, hit the bell to get notified. Also comment down below any questions. On top of that, up here is another video. Over here is my face. Click and subscribe. And as always, long-term team officially out. I hope this video gave you in some way a lot of value. Peace.